Hi there. This is a little bit of bonus video lecture for my Major Gifts class. As requested by a student, we are discussing today, in a few minutes I guess, how the key differences between making a Major Gifts ask to an individual donor versus a corporate donor. There are some key differences I find when I'm in these asks. There's always the same things you're going to keep in mind for both these types of visits. The linkage. You always want the right person attending the visit with you if you're not going alone. You want to bring the person closest to that individual donor or closest to that company or corporate donor on the visit with you. The other thing that's very much the same for both is you really want to let the other person talk first. You'll start with a little small talk in either case. I find with the corporate donor, I might speed things up a little bit. I've actually walked into corporate meetings, and before I've even sat down in my chair, I've had the corporate person say, "What do you want?" And that would probably almost never happen with an individual. There just seems to be a little more of the niceties, a little more time for small talk with the individual donor in a major gift ask visit. Another big difference too, I find, is how I feel about going into these visits. Whether it's really 100% true or not, I really feel like when I'm with an individual donor, I'm talking about their own money. I'm more sensitive to the ask. When I'm with a corporate donor, I don't care at all because I kind of, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking it's not their money. And it's interesting in that sense because it takes the pressure off the ask a little bit with a corporate donor. You're both talking about other money. It's not that person's money that's coming out of their own bank account. So in a way, I find corporate asks easier to make for that reason. You get to the point, you're not talking about the person's own money. It just seems like all the pressures are off. Now, to get more specific about how the actual ask meeting would go, a little bit about who I'd bring for an individual, just one person. It might be a smaller meeting. I will sometimes just go myself, same with a corporate. If I take someone, it would probably just be one other person. And again, person closest with the closest links to that individual donor. On the corporate side, I will take the most linked person, but I'll really be giving an eye to who has more kind of a power equality with that potential donor. Maybe another corporation, maybe the chair of my board, someone like that. You may even end up in a big team with a corporate ask more often than not, where they'll bring along maybe an assistant and you're bringing along a board member and they have other people on their team, and it can end up, I've been in big meetings of like 5 people talking about corporate gifts. And I've been in big meetings with individuals as well, but the corporate tends to be the team meetings. A quick note on location. It's very important where these meetings take place. You certainly, with an individual donor, you want them to be comfortable. They get to choose, and I don't care how bad an idea it is that they come up with. If they want to meet in a noisy cafe, it's not the most private, but you will let them meet in that noisy cafe, or if it's at their home or their office, whatever. With family members present or not. On the corporate side, it always seems to be you're going to their corporate office. There's almost no other place to have a major gifts corporate ask. But again, you can let them choose. The approach on the actual dollar amount with the individual donor, I've hopefully had a little back and forth, and I at least know the range. I never want to surprise an individual donor, even though of course I've done research on what else they've given to. We might just come down in the meeting to discussing really nailing down the exact amount and to maybe talking about pledge or payment options. With the corporate donor, I'll probably spit out an amount right up front, whether we've talked about it or not. I might just lead right into the meeting by saying like, hey, Mrs. CEO, I'm coming at you with a proposal. Well, I wouldn't say coming at you. But I'd say, this is a proposal I'd like to discuss for $100,000 from Scotiabank, let's say, and it's for this project. Let me describe it to you briefly. I may have discussed amounts with the corporate donor before going into the meeting, but probably I didn't really have time, and I've done a lot of research on them too, and I kind of know what I'm looking for, and I know I'm very sure I know what they're able to give or what they'd be interested in giving. I may also, in a corporate ask that's going well, there's sometimes opportunity to ask for more money, which sounds odd, but it may end up being, you may end up talking about matching employee giving, about providing volunteers, about matching another corporation's donation. There's sometimes ways to up the ante unexpectedly in a corporate meeting. Recently in a corporate meeting, they weren't able to give the amount that we had discussed initially. And as an alternative, I said, well, how about, do you have any other funds of money I should know about? Because we have another innovative project that I, brought up in the meeting just as a kind of a side project, a pilot. And she said, oh, well, actually we do. We have a special fund. It's an online application. So beyond this ask that you'll get money for, go and apply to that as well, and I'll put in a good word. So you got to be ready to wheel and deal a little bit with the corporates on the fly in the meeting. Follow up. There's always follow up these days. These meetings used to come out of them knowing, you've got the gift and you know pretty much how much, whether it was an individual or a corporate donor. Now I find everyone's got to go away and ask someone. The individual's got to go and talk to their accountant or their family. The corporate donor has to go away. There's so much more transparency in corporations now about what they do with their money. And you'll be talking to an influencer, hopefully, who will be in a position to push your gift through, but they still, I find, 9 times out of 10, that corporate person will have to run it through whatever committee. An excellent example, when I was at the David Suzuki Foundation, David Suzuki spoke with Mr. Jim Pattison, famous businessman in Canada, and even though Jim Pattison can wave his wand and make any amount of money appear, he still had us run through the proper business foundation that he has attached to his corporate group. This is really interesting. So the short story there is it's a little disappointing. Usually the gift actually ends up getting confirmed by a phone call or an email that happens after the ask meeting, and it's a little anticlimactic, but still works very well. What to bring to the meeting. This is the last thing I'll talk about. I don't like to bring tons of stuff, and I'd suggest you never bring your big proposal and put it down on the table because they start flipping through it while you're trying to talk to them. Leave it on the side for the end. You can leave things behind with them. Individuals, they don't bring much. Visuals are fun. Maps of a project, photos of a project that illustrate what you're asking them for are great. And I might leave them a little one-page proposal at the end because while they're thinking about it. And whether they, if they answer me right away. And if we've discussed tweaking that proposal at all, or tweaking the dollar amount, I might just take that one-page proposal and just start writing on it, leaving it with them that we've, rearranged some things, and then I'll go back to the ranch and rewrite the whole thing up and close the deal a little bit later. On a corporate meeting, I'd like to bring everything because I get fooled all the time. I think I've got everything I need, the proposal, etc. But then they'll ask, what's the competition giving? How many volunteers does the other bank provide? We have an office branch in northern BC. Are you guys up there? So I find I'll bring information on giving and volunteering as it pertains to their competitors. And I'll always bring the annual report because most of your stuff's in there anyways. And I have a little kit and a little checklist. So when I go on a corporate visit, I always make sure I have all the pieces in my kit. Just the general things I get asked for that I never think to bring. And of course I'll bring the one-pager on the proposal as I would for the individual donor. So those are a couple of the key differences. Again, always let the other people speak first in terms of the sort of small talk. Try not to take over the meeting too much. You should never talk for more than 10 minutes max in a row in a major gift ask meeting. Otherwise you're just going to bore them and they start to zone out and they're just waiting for you to finish and get to the punch. So be brief, be bright, and be gone are always good rules of thumb in any donor visit. And good luck with those major gift asks.